I'm gonna keep it a stack. This is gonna be a rather short video because I haven't been super caught up with this week's NFL action. I just haven't watched a whole lot of the games, but I have seen enough to know that I went 8-7 this week. Cowboys and Eagles especially, I want y'all to know that I hate you and you suck big pee-pee. We'll get into why shortly, but that's my opening message for the start of this. First up, you got a game that I'm sure nobody wants to see. Steelers vs. Bagels. The Bagels rightfully lost to the Packers, and the Steelers rightfully beat the Browns. I have a frustratingly strong feeling that the Steelers are not going to be playing as good as they should be. And it is an AFC North game, and that division just can be real weird. But I'm going to play it safe and pick the Steelers to win. And speaking of their division, even though it is usually a mixed bag, it's like a fucking dogfight, just a fucking battle royale over there, it's looking pretty one-sided for the Steelers. Nobody in that division seems to pose any type of threat to them at the moment. But it is the Steelers, so again, I can't completely count these guys out, but it should be smooth sailing from here for Pittsburgh. Next, you got the LA Rams taking on the London Jaguars! The Jaguars have been a real deal in London for the past few years, not only constantly playing there, but constantly winning. I don't know if it's a Trevor Lawrence thing or what. Now, I'll pump the brakes a bit. I don't want to hype him up too much because this is being played in Wembley Stadium, not Tottenham Hotspur, where the Jags are undefeated. Also, Devin Lloyd, who's been having a hell of a year so far, is apparently out for this game, so that is a fat-ass loss. Meanwhile, the Rams just came away with an underwhelming victory over the Ravens. They beat them, but just not by much, and that's kind of concerning. But what's more underwhelming than the Rams' performance was the Jags' performance last week, only dropping 12 points on the Seahawks and losing to them. As much as I want the Jaguars to win, I'm gonna pick the Rams to win. Seems like a much more reasonable option since the Rams look like a better team, especially with no Devin Lloyd for the Jaguars. But still, don't sleep on the London Jaguars. Next, you got the Raiders versus the Chiefs. Chiefs win, nothing to talk about. Next, you got the Philly Cheesesteaks versus the Minnesota Vikings. So, last Thursday, the Eagles lost, again, this time by 17 points to the Giants. Meanwhile, the Vikings came off of a relaxing bye week, hoping to recover from the sloppiness in the opening weeks of the season. Both J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz are questionable for this game for the Vikings, so it's unknown who will be starting at quarterback as of recording this video. This will be an interesting matchup between two teams who just don't know how to play for all 60 minutes of the football games. But I'm going to pick the Eagles to win. Even though both teams look shaken up right now, I just feel like this will be more of a rebound game for the Eagles. Even though in these last 2 weeks they have shown that they clearly are not perfect, I just don't really see them losing 3 in a row, so I'm gonna stick with Philly on this one. Next, you get the New Orleans Saints versus the Chicago Bears. The Saints lost a close game to the New England Patriots, whereas the Bears won a close game against the Washington Redskins. The Bears are starting to get hot, and now they're about to play at home against the Stepping Stone Saints. Let me know if that one hits. I mean, if the Bears keep doing what they're doing, I don't see why they lose here. There's literally no reason to lose here, so I'll be picking Chicago. Next, you got, wow. Dr. Malcolm, come take a look at this, please.
That is one big pile of shit.
Good lord. I'll just get this one out the way. The Dolphins lost a very close game to the Chargers where they almost had it, whereas the Browns kind of got their ass whipped by the Steelers. I'm gonna pick the Browns to win because at least their defense is somewhat competent, whereas I don't see any of that in the Dolphins. Next, you got the Carolina Panthers versus the New York Jets. I picked the Cowboys to beat the Panthers, even though I had a feeling that the Panthers would come away with this one. And I should have stuck to my gut with that one because the Panthers did up beating the Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Jets couldn't even beat a Broncos team that was looking like complete ass. Just classic New York Jets behavior, nothing out of the ordinary. I'll pick the Panthers to win this one just because I think the quality of their opponent is so ridiculously poor. Next, you got the New England Patriots versus the Tennessee Titans. After an impressive win over the Bills and now the Saints, the Patriots already have more wins than they did all of last season. And believe it or not, they're leading their division. Meanwhile, the Titans lost to the bottom-feeding Raiders. Nothing much to say there. The Patriots have been on a roll recently. This should honestly be a chance for them to add on to their little winning streak they got going. Next, you got the New York Giants versus the Denver Broncos. The Broncos looked like relative shit against the Jets, but it's the Jets, so of course they came away with the win, barely. Meanwhile, the Giants took their two fists named Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo, and shoved it up the Eagles' ass. Pure domination over Philadelphia. Nothing shy of fucking impressive. And now they'll be taking on the only other team to get a win off on the Eagles. The Broncos have at least been pretty consistent. The Giants are so stupid to predict. One week they're losing to the Saints, and then the next they're slapping the Eagles around. I guess I'm gonna pick the Broncos to humble the Giants this game. The Broncos' defense is pretty solid, so I think they'll do just enough to shut down the young Giants offense that's really starting to heat up. Next, you got the Colts taking on the Chargers. Can we take a moment to acknowledge how good the Colts are doing for absolutely no reason? They're just fucking teabagging everyone in their path, and it's looking like they'll be seeing their first playoff run in a long time. Now, don't get on me about jinxing the Colts. You'd have to be a special kind of stupid and incompetent to not make a playoff run with a 5-1 start. And the Colts aren't that bad, right? Meanwhile, the Chargers barely beat the Dolphins. So whereas they stopped their losing streak from getting too long, their concerning performance continues as they struggled to beat a team that is seemingly at the bottom of the league right now. But looking at the Chargers depth chart, they're starting to get a little riddled with injuries. What is going on in California? What's going on with all these injuries? I don't get it. What did California do to the sports gods? Look, all I'm going to ask is that you guys keep that shit away from my Warriors. This is going to be one of our last good runs with Steph Curry. We don't need no more bullshit holding us back. But anyway, even though the Chargers look like they're well built to take on the Colts and even beat them, I'm going to have to pick the Colts to win because they have that consistency. And at no point this year so far have they really looked bad. Next, you got the Washington Redskins versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are another team that doesn't really know what their status is right now, losing to the Panthers just this past week. Hold my nuts, Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Redskins just lost a very tight game to the Bears, their repeated turnovers being the reason why. This game should be interesting. I expect it to be a rather close game. I am going to go with the Redskins because they look a lot more promising. I'm aware that the Redskins are still missing quite a few big-name players, but as a team, all-around team, they've shown that they can still look like an unstoppable force, and I'm sure they'll do the same here in Dallas. Next, you get the Green Bay Packers versus the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals, I wasn't expecting anything big of you this year, but the way the season's going already, you have no one to blame but yourselves. Majority of your losses so far is your own undoing. The losing streak continues for the Cardinals. They're catching more L's than I am on my predictions. Meanwhile, the Packers pretty much got a free win off of the Bagels. I'm going to pick the Packers to win this. The Cardinals, again, just don't look like they're taking the season seriously. And with that attitude, you are not going to be winning shit. Next, for Sunday Night Football, you got the 49 injuries versus the Falcons. The Niners just lost to the Buccaneers, but that wasn't even the biggest heartbreak of the week. Fred Warner is out with an injury. Literally the core of the team, the flavor to the fruit, the titty to the breast. This injury low-key rivals that of Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, but this might be even worse because Fred Warner is out for the whole season. That's it. He's not coming back. Meanwhile, incoming, they got a red-hot Falcons team that just took down the Buffalo Bills. The Falcons are such a beautiful team to watch when everybody's doing their part and not just Bijan Robinson, who, speaking of which, had a 230-plus yard game against the Bills, just fucking decimating them. Falcons are also currently the number 1 overall defense with the number 2 overall offense, at least in terms of yards per game. And despite their inconsistencies, I'm gonna have to go with the Falcons to win this one. There's just too much against the 49ers this week. And finally, for Monday Night Football, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Detroit Lions. The Buccaneers, as I mentioned, just crippled Fred Warner and proceeded to bully the 49ers in Tampa. Meanwhile, the Lions had an unfortunate loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Buccaneers may have beat the 49ers, but they got that lingering poison effect on them, suffering all these fucking injuries. Look at this shit. Perhaps that's payback for Fred Warner? However you want to look at it, whatever. Fact of the matter is, the Bucs are beat up right now. And they're going into Detroit to play a maybe not red-hot Lions team, but a Lions team that is clearly still really good right now. I'm gonna have to pick Detroit to win this one. I know the Bucs are looking really good right now, but I don't think they're at Lions level quite yet, especially when you're missing this many men, star players specifically. Lions are gonna eat that shit up. Bit of a filler series of games this week. Hopefully it'll follow up with some consistency and a cooling of all the weird shenanigans going on this year so far.